Interesting. All right, let's just go for this. I think that is our only bet here. If not, we will be laughing about all day long and not get anything done. All
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Afternoon. Nice, lovely sunny day over here. It looks pretty bright where you are. Is it sunny as well, or
Yeah, it is. It's
uh,
sunny.
so it's a hot day, huh, as per
Very
last week?
sunny with predictions of rain.
Uh,
Lots of rain later.
it is the season for it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I think without any further ado, we should really get into basically the gist of the matter. There's a
Hello?
lot going on now. Talk about racism, and I mean, we're seeing the videos coming out of America. They're, I mean, as usual, graphic. Police brutality is never a nice thing. But then again, it is nothing new. I mean, I think this is something that has been going on for a very long time. I think, obviously, with a lot of people on this lockdown
Yes.
and a lot of people at home, the issue obviously is a bit more pressing because more people spending time on social media, watching these things over and over, a lot more people reacting than normally would. So I think it has gotten a lot of people rattled.
Mm-hmm.
But
It has.
what I find interesting was a conversation I had with somebody, and I was trying to explain to them that racism is not something that is just going to go away if we keep on making noise about Black Lives Matter, because it's become pretty much a cliche. I mean, you can't argue and say that all lives don't matter. And people say, oh no, but this is one group of people that are being oppressed the most right now, so it should be at the forefront that their lives matter. And I'm like, whilst I agree, you know where would we now start saying is the definition of somebody that is black? And where would that definition, how far were you really ready to stretch that definition? Because there are people in all segments of society that get oppressed because of a darker skin. I mean, look at India.
Yeah.
But is that
Mm-hmm.
the same kind of oppression faced by blacks of African origin? I don't think so. Now, I think what's interesting is when people say that it is the Westerners that need to change their mentality, that need to be, they need to restructure their society to do away with racism in their society. I feel that's just passing the buck. I think it's more important for Africans to galvanize together and, um, show the world what they're worth, rather than almost asking for someone. They're saying that the Westerners need to make it a fair level field. I say just stop playing the game. Play your own game. Why are
Yeah.
you trying to play someone else's game?
Very
If they're not going
simple.
to be fair, then play your own game. And I think what is missing is the African game. People not understanding what it really means to be African.
Yeah. Well, I think if you look at the game, the word African, where does it originate from? You could see the game was designed for we to be the lighter weight, because two heavyweights should box themselves. You can't imagine Mike Tyson with Khan, the Pakistani guy, the featherweight. I mean, he's going to knock him out, just one punch. So these are the issues. We need to go back to the history and understand these things. Take, for example, democracy. Some people came a different color and imposed a system on us. We could argue that democracy isn't really a system peculiar to having an executive, a legislature, or a judiciary. But the main thing is we need to define for ourselves what we really want as a people. So these are part of the issues we need to know. For example, we're talking about racism. Um, Racism just scratches the surface of the real problem that's going on. So where do we actually begin? These are the issues the Black people need to start addressing.
Yes, yes, yes. I love what you said there, that racism is just the tip of the iceberg, really. And it's what I try to enlighten people about. I said, you see, if racism was the problem, just one person hating somebody just because of color of the skin or the way they spoke, but this is a very easy problem to solve. Very, very easy. You can solve this in a couple of years. There you can make movies and stuff, and you can re-educate people. But the funny thing about it, or the funny reality, I mean, I'm using the word funny, is because most of the people today that are racist do not even know why they are racist. They don't really know the reason why. When you start to ask them real thought-provoking questions, they will just try and say, yeah, but you can see the evidence. Africa is underdeveloped and the West is developed. So obviously there are lesser people. That's why you just see that they have no idea about anything really. And it's unfortunate that actually a lot of our brothers and sisters actually believe this that they are lesser people. And you hear people
True.
say, "Oh, a black person cannot invent anything," and it's something that is really sad. Especially, you don't even have to go that far back. I mean, the pyramids are still standing. We know about the
Yeah.
origin of mathematics. We know about things like C-section. We even know about basic hygiene that they documented when they came to the Benin Kingdom and saw how clean it was. People taking bath every day. The Portuguese and the
Yeah.
British were still trying to figure out whether taking bath, more than once a month was okay.
I mean, people say um, um, advancement for the black man is an imitation of the white man. I mean, we've been made to believe the white is leading, the black follows. But
Yeah,
really, we need to go back and understand our history.
yeah.
This thing we are actually doing in terms of Black Lives Matter is like an opposition in a democracy, protesting, no, this is that. These have become actually equal. But we could see it has actually gotten worse. It hasn't actually solved the problem. So
Yeah.
it has nothing to do with a black man becoming president of the US. It doesn't solve any problem.
Yes, yes, yes.
So a lot of issues.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
We
I
can't
think
just be the opposition.
and I think one of the starting points, it's interesting because Bob Marley sang a song, redemption song, and one of the key words in that song is emancipate your mind, free
Man,
yourself of this mental slavery.
slavery.
A lot of this, unfortunately, has been a play on the mind. So, we're talking about racism today. Unfortunately, I don't really like to talk about this topic because I feel like one is empowering it in a way, but I think it needs to be addressed so that people can understand the true origin. Even the people that are racist, as I said, do not understand why they're racist. And if you go
Why
back
there is.
enough, you realize that this thing is actually very sinister. It is a cover up for resource control.
Yes.
Now, if we talk about racism in America, you see America has one of the most brutal forms of racism. And then also in the Eastern European side, all that from Germany going in that direction, Central and Eastern Europe, you also have some kind of also extreme racism. And you need to
Yeah.
understand why then in the western part of Europe, there is institutional racism. So it's a bit subtle. It's not so much in your
Yeah.
face.
Yeah.
But why is it like this? Okay. I think from my own observation of history accounts, when they were first taking slaves or people from Africa into slavery, the Americas was where they were trying to develop. They needed manpower and they needed cheap
Yeah.
manpower.
Uh,
Well, cheap. They needed free manpower. Let's just call it what it
of
is.
course, there's a cost that goes into it because when you ship slaves across the sea, you incur a cost.
Yes.
When you go to find them and chain them up, you incur a cost.
Yes.
You
Exactly.
use fetters.
Mm-hmm.
You design a barracoon.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't know that what the barracoon, the slave holding places before they are loaded onto ships. So these things actually just it's cheap labor. They incur certain costs. But
Yeah.
when you get there, it's free cost. But you actually feed the slaves, even though you have to padlock their mouth sometimes. Don't eat the food that the
Yeah, I
master
mean, it's
tells you.
precious cargo. This was precious cargo, you know. They could not afford
Yeah.
to lose this their cargo. You know, don't forget they still needed to sell these people on to another bunch of merchants. Because there were also middlemen that were involved in this. You had like Bristol, for instance, in the UK, is one of the cities that was a big merchant city, and the slave trade was actually something that fueled the money coming into that city. Those merchants there would buy and trade with their counterparts in America. A few would be kept back in the UK, but when not to deter from what was happening in America, because of how they needed to work this labor force, they had to
Yeah.
convince their own people that these were not regular human beings. Because if these people were, if they were viewed as human beings, nobody would be able to be whipping another human being like that, and it was not going to be
Yeah.
possible. So what they did was they jumped to, if you remember Taoism, they jumped on Darwin's theory of evolution and said, we have found the missing link. These are not fully human beings. They are the link between the primate monkey and the modern human being as we know it. So
Human being.
don't worry, they don't have the same kind of feeling and emotion. You see how they are very stench and very strong. And when you look at the skin, so this was the first bit of brainwashing that they were doing to their own people for economic
Yeah.
gain. Don't forget that the masses, be it in Africa, be it in Europe, be it in Asia, are just the masses. Unfortunately, someone else does the thinking and the masses just follow like sheep.
Of course.
Now, you also know that they were when people were even having, they have a new child, they would line up these slaves and get these slaves to be treating this child as if it was royalty. So from a very young age, the idea of superior and inferior was already ingrained. Exactly. And that's why, for instance, today when you look at the kind of racism that happens in America and you compare the northern states and the southern states, you see how extreme it is in the southern states. These are still the same white people, but because of how it was indoctrinated in the south, this is why it's so easy for them to be so brutal in the way they carry out their own racism in the south. And where is the Republican Party mainly from? The south.
I mean, sometimes you begin to ask yourself. I mean, the question I've been asking myself is, really, the black man really hates himself because you tend to find people, beautiful people, and trying to bleach their skins to look like these people that have oppressed them for over thousands of years, not hundreds of years, as we're made to believe. The black man has internalized his the thinking that he should be a lower caste person. I mean, he could be intelligent. You could be a house slave. You're intelligent. You cook nice food, but you're still the same thing with the slaves tilling the soil in the field. So basically, I have to give a shout out to authors like Marika Sherwood. She's done a lot for Black people through her research. Stephanie E. Jones Rogers, among many. And I hope people could try to read, study Black authors, get to know what they've been doing, uh, because these things actually runs deep. I mean, we need to really go back to our
Oh
history,
yes.
get to know. That's very key. I mean, if both of us were here and someone tells us, okay, no, I bought this house from your dad, and or I built this house for your dad, so it's mine. But your dad ain't actually tell you, I built this house, I worked, this is what I did, I have the receipt. So no one can actually come and convince you and say, no, I gave your dad that house,
Mm-hmm.
because you know the history. So no one can actually convince you. So these are proper things. People feel history is just, no, you just write some date somewhere, get something in a book, and that's history. But no, it takes more than that. History is more than a process. It's a science, actually.
Yes, yes, yes. I agree with you because I always like to. I know it's a bit also a dry joke to say, but his story, as the word says, is his story. So if somebody wins, go get the chance to speak first or document first, they will
Yes,
write their own version that suits their agenda. And that is
of
basically
course.
what you have because most of the authors history I remember, I mean, I did my primary and high school in Nigeria, and the so-called history that I learned was Lord Lugard, as if
Yeah.
there was nothing before Lord Lugard. I had to go and luckily, my father is, although Western educated, he actually came from a village, and I could actually very easily trace backwards. And I remember telling my brother that, oh, we're from the Congo, and he was like, dismissive, like, who's from the Congo with you? Because he was just,
Why are we ashamed of our history?
I mean, this is why I think we're having this discourse because I think sometimes people do not
Yeah.
even really realize this Congo that we're joking about, we're laughing, has some of the most advanced human beings in the world. The
Yes.
fact that you can meet an origin pygmy. Sorry, I'm using this definition, this Western definition, but it's the only definition that I kind of know and I can use so that other people can know what the group of people I'm referring to. So these people that they will call the pygmy of the Congo, you find a 14, 15-year-old person there, and this person can identify over hundreds of different botanical plants and tell you that it
Plants. Yes.
uses the very advanced kind of knowledge that even look, how many plants can we really identify? Rose flower, hibiscus. Do we even know about medical properties? If even
Yeah.
someone has to study these botanical sciences, go to university, get a PhD, spend over 30 years or so in academia, and even then you're still making reference to a book. This is
I'm
some
telling
people
you.
that we're calling primitive. They can identify all these things just like that, just like knowledge that has been passed down through word of mouth. Who is that actually? People that can go and see animal tracks and tell you what happened the night before. We're talking about the calories now. Sorry again to use this calorie bushman. I think they're no, actually, I believe they're now referred to as the sang or the sani. Or I read somewhere I was doing some research about into their. Something very fascinating actually about those group of people. The praise was something that was virtually non-existent in their way of doing things.
Mm.
If anything, it was actually the opposite. They made mockery. Even when you did something like kill a big buffalo and came back with the spoils to the encampment, they'll be like, why did you even waste the energy to kill such a pathetic, small-looking, scruffy thing like this? You are just abusing nature. Why waste? In short, just because it's nature and we don't want nature to go to waste, we will just join you and eat this thing. That was the kind of thing that they did just to kill the ego, so that ego did not exist. To show you, do you know how important it is to separate yourself from this body and mind? then you become a real source of universal intelligence. And these people that we're calling Bushmen understood this. Today, the modern day, everyday man is so absorbed in this materialistic world that we live in that the only time that they think about spirituality is maybe on Sunday if he's a Christian, or Friday if he's a Muslim, or during, okay, now we just come out of Ramadan. So I know that our, brothers of that faith, they are very, any small thing now, even what I've said now can be used to crucify me. But I find it
That's
very,
a lot of
such
emotions. I mean,
a big disconnect. Those are things like this. I find them a big disconnect from what it means to be African. This is why I always try to tell people that
yeah.
African is really a state of mind, And I always like to use this expression: "I am because we are." And I think a lot of our original ancestors, not the ones that were tricked by the Westerners, but the real people that had the real knowledge, I think this was something that they understood. And that's why materialism wasn't something that was at the forefront of our existence. Not to say that people did not have advancement, but they did not look at material things as a way of
Existence,
advancing.
I mean, a lot of us have been brainwashed to think all you need is money, a nice house, good cars. You just need to look fancy. But really, is this really what living is about? You just wake up in the morning, what we need is nice meals, we could go out, drive the best cars. But really, we need to look inward and see what exactly does man live for? Who is man? And this is referring to the black man, not just what he sees on TV as a white man in a soap opera, and this is what he thinks. I mean, when I was growing up, I remember everything we saw was on TV, watching TV. We never actually saw the inventions of the black. We were even showing ourselves. This is what the black people actually did. Content was being streamlined. Yeah. But really, people weren't living in the River Niger from the beginning. I mean, it's strange.
I remember that story of Mango Park as well. I remember, actually, I would like to, I think I got punished for that, actually. I raised my hand and said, but I don't quite understand, teacher. How can you say Mango Park discovered the River Niger? One day people already there, or what? Later on in life, I started joking like, okay, no, we didn't know it was river. We would just said, oh, now water they there. We didn't know.
And kids are so happy when the teacher asks a question and they remember, oh no, Mango Park, Mango Park. So this is actually brainwashing from the beginning.
Oh yes,
the curriculum has been, in quotes, doctored to think these people who are the racists, whoever the slave owners that took us out of our lands, came to do us a favor by telling us, oh no, River Niger came from somewhere. It has an origin. So this is what it is. But really, people have traversed that river for years.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what we as black people have been doing. I mean, do you expect someone with PhD or the professors to actually believe that Mango Park actually discovered River Niger? I mean, this thing has to have been changed years ago to correct it, for lack of a better word. We need to actually say, no, this is wrong. This is not true. But I don't know.
Yes. I think, you see, this is where I think, this discussion about where the origins of racism really, I think, is even leading us down. Because when you now think about like how going into what was referred to as German East Africa, all this I think modern day Tanzania, Botswana kind of region.
Yeah, Germans actually also went to Malawi,
Oh yeah,
Namibia.
Namibia.
Yeah, Namibia. Namibia is very, very. Even the capital, Windhoek. That's actually a German word.
Yeah.
I don't think it's an African word.
No, no. I mean, a lot of a lot of this.
Relics of colonialism.
Yes, a lot of these things were it's very difficult sometimes to tell the difference, between which bit where the colonial some things start, or and where the African one finish. They wasn't really into history and trying to research back. I mean, we're not even going into even the Arabs' influence and all that, and what even they did with slavery and all that, because that also is even another bit of history. But just to look at, because the Caucasian history bit is actually is the most recent one. Prior to this, we had the Arab one, which is a different, is also another oppression that is different. But just sticking with the Caucasian one, but sticking with this Caucasian one and talking about that region, I remember I was
basically the Arabs.
Yeah. So I was going to say that sticking with this this part, that German East Africa, you had these what was his name now? General von. The name escapes my mind now, but he was the inventor of what we know as terrorism today. There was an uprising in that region. One of the groups that suffered for it were the Herero people. There was another group of people, the Mermer people or something. Basically, they were opposing there were several uprisings all through the. Ooh, Felix, I think our internet has done its job. Rather unfortunate, right when I was just trying to dig into this. Let me see if I can get Felix back for this bit of the conversation. Anyway, well, the Herero people, I was just saying we had lost you there briefly. I was saying the internet had done its thing. I think we touched on a nerve there that even the internet had to get involved. Yeah, but you're back with us now, yes?
I mean, no one likes to be, humans don't like to be overturned. Yes, it's good to be back.
No, so what I was saying about this uprising was, there was this General von something. Anyway, he crushed the uprising in such a brutal manner. Women and children were killed. This was even when the first concentration camps were even, thought about or even put into play. He drove the people that they did not kill, they drove the remaining women and children into the desert so that they would die of starvation and pest.
Yes.
And he was telling his subordinate, his lieutenants and all that he wants no prisoners. He wants to impose terrorism on these people. So when they see a white man, the thought will not even cross their mind that they should try and oppose a white man. So this idea of terrorizing the people to the point that when the Second World War came about and the Germans and the British were fighting each other for control of that region of Africa, what did these people do? They brought African soldiers. The British brought their own African soldiers from West Africa. They had their Punjab and Sikh lieutenants in charge of these Africans.
Yeah.
The Germans also brought their own group of Africans and pitched Africans against Africans to fight for who was going to oppress them. I mean, we laugh now.
Yes, because as far as the Nigerian Brigade was, there's a book, the Nigerian Brigade actually went to fight in West Africa.
Yeah.
So you could see that far coming together, using the black people to kill themselves.
So when it's really interesting. You know that lady you're mentioning, the former African Union
Yeah,
ambassador.
Dr. Ariana.
I mean, she's doing a great job. She's doing a great job, but she has a real, I mean, not just she, we all have a huge uphill task here. You know, when you talk about Africa Unite, and then you have somebody in Zimbabwe that is saying that, oh, we Shona people, we are completely different from the Zulu people. Don't try and branch us together or and stuff like that. You're like, you know. Not to mention us here in West Africa, that's where even
Sorry.
within the same group of people, we have our own differences. I know, like as I said, my dad is from the Tiv. He's from. My dad doesn't like us using the word tribe, so I tend to use clan. But it gets a little bit mixed up when I also try to explain that we're actually clans within clans. That we never really became like because during this Bantu migration, the way we were moving was we were moving in 3 or 4 generations. You know, great grandfather, grandfather, father, like that. They were moving, and they were mainly warriors and farmers. Oh, that was also another interesting thing that I think you know is what bringing up
Wow.
is the fact that
It's incredible.
we had select knowledge, and the select knowledge, just like the way it was in, like, for instance, the UK. If your surname was Smith, you gave everybody in your family is a blacksmith. If your name is Wood, all of you, you know, your clan or group that you belong to, basically, you had a specialist skill, just like the Benin people. Not everybody in Benin was a bronze specialist. There were certain people that were specialists at bronze work. There were certain people that were spirituality. The spirituality was more the Oba lineage. Those people of the Oba lineage, because they were supposed to be direct descendants. I think even they trace as far back as Khufu, the person that ordered the building of the pyramids. And so they even go much, 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 much further back. But anyway, not to deter. As I was saying, this specialist knowledge meant that certain people were moving with this their knowledge and impacting it on other groups of people as they were moving along. Oh, sorry, I think I lost you there. I was just saying that this knowledge, that was, that certain clans or certain groups of people had, as they were moving along, they were sharing this knowledge with one another and impacting. Unfortunately, when
Yeah.
the colonials came in and they bridged, or they obstructed this our free movement of people and ideas, this is where the disunity started occurring. Because I know, for instance, the Ashanti people were trading with the rivine tribes all across the western coast.
Yeah.
And one thing that the British did with their Royal Navy was to blockade this trading post, or create an artificial trading post, I would say. So when the Ashantis were coming, they would now be the ones in the middle. They will buy whatever it was from the Ashantis, prevent the Ashantis from going any further, and then they would then trade with the other riverine tribes along the western coast.
Right.
Yeah. So this way, this their middleman thing now started this jointing Africa. So even our passage of ideas and stories, because obviously when you trade, it wasn't just a matter of trading goods. You were also trading stories. You were also trading a bit of culture. People were being entertained. Don't
Yes.
forget, these people were traveling sometimes days to get to the other place. It's not that they would just arrive and just trade and then bugger off. They will spend some time, there will be merriment, there will be those people, they will take some of that knowledge that they picked up there back to their own people. And this is how things used to be in Africa. Unfortunately, now I heard that they want to, because of this COVID, they're trying to get people from from Abuja back to Accra at $1,000.
Wow.
If I was the one, I'd just start walking. $1,000. There's land. I think when I remember the last time
I mean,
I walked into Benin Republic from Lagos, even though they harassed me at the border, calling me Lebanese, and then let's not go different kind of racism has its own different faces and stuff, and even what we face
yeah.
in Africa.
I mean, it's terrible. You can't really fathom the way the black man sees. I mean, sometimes even the argument is when the black man sees the white man, he tends to shoulder at it's like someone superior passing. Oh, let's give him more respect compared to the black man, his fellow black man.
Yeah, no,
And
it's sad. But I think the
this
only way to really start getting people to is true knowledge. Yes, I think real knowledge of our true history, of our true greatness. You know, when I was talking with some at the barber one time, I was mentioning something about Caesarean operation and how they witnessed Caesarean operation by the Shona people in Zimbabwe. I think it was documented by, was it Portuguese or Dutch traveler. And they didn't even know that such a thing was possible. So this young men, they couldn't believe me. They were saying, "Oh, you're making stories up and this and that." And this is where it became sad that I'm trying to impact knowledge on these people, and they are making it seem as if I'm making something up. They say, "Oh, you are talking like Black Panther, that movie Wakanda and all this. That we know is all Hollywood, it's all made up and stuff just to make us feel good and stuff." And I'm like, I said, wow, wow, wow. We really have that's why I said this lady, she has a real challenge, to try and unite.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that, the more, I mean, as I said, this thing has been sparked because of this people having a lot of time and seeing this outreach in America. So I'm hoping that because of this, that somehow, well, where they couldn't unite on knowledge and peaceful things, maybe this joint hatred or oppression will cause people to maybe start thinking at least.
Awaken them, unite them. Yeah, so it's really terrible.
And
look at the issues of trying to find a cure for the COVID. I mean, a lot of African researchers have actually been begging, we have the cure for this, try this. But no, it has to be Western standards. We need to wait for the WHO. I mean, these people have certain persuasions that wouldn't favor the black people. It has to involve money, the markets. A vaccine has to be sold.
Yeah.
So if it's not sold by a Western company, it's not cure or vaccine that could be validated.
Yeah, I mean,
there are a lot of issues involved here. So the question is, where do we begin from? Getting the knowledge, which is true, but most something isn't to start.
Well, I think you see the.
I've been trying to study that.
Well, I would like to think that at least if we had some kind of how would I put it? That overcoming something you said in the beginning that black man hitting himself or trying to be something that he's not, either with people bleaching their skin or all these funny artificial things like that.
White skin, black mask, or black mask, white skin, that kind of thing. According to Fanon.
I think is if people could understand the greatness that they had before, I think maybe this might be something that would cause them to start to look inward, because I don't see the solution out there. I think the solution for every single one of us is by doing personal reflection internally. You need to do internal reflection. I think this is where one will now start reconnecting with your own inner power as an individual, and allowing us to realize that we are all part and parcel of the same thing. Because I think once you are looking at yourself as I'm a single, it's just like I think I'm going to borrow this from Sanguru's thing about enlightenment, where he was saying, if I blow if we're blowing soap bubbles, and you blow a soap bubble and I blow a soap bubble, I say, oh yeah, that's my soap bubble, that's your soap bubble. When the bubble pops, are we going to say, oh, that is my air? and that is your
Wow,
it's
which is true
realizing
actually.
this, that everything is one kind of thing. And because I mean, see, the same people that are doing the racism, these so-called, I will call them my white brothers as well, because there's only one race, the human race. They too are lost. It's not as if it's just that they think they are winning. You know, we're all losing really, because this planet, we only have one of it, and the more we destroy it, what are we going to? We're waiting for when in Musk will do rockets so we can go to Mars and go and populate Mars and even mess that one up.
Man wants to build another planet somewhere else, or build on another planet. I mean, we have this beautiful planet. We should take care of it.
Take care of it.
I don't think we should wait for renewable energy ideas like okay, coal is messing the earth up by releasing carbon dioxide into carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. So we need to focus on renewable energy. No, it takes more than that to actually save the world. Yeah, I mean, love is a very important subject here in terms of you loving yourself, looking inwards, to do a lot more for us.
Hey you. Yeah, you. Do you like this video? There is a button. It's a very sexy button. It says subscribe on it. I wish I could click on it, but YouTube won't let me. Damn fuckers.